So a couple days ago, the Giants hired Jason Garrett as their offensive coordinator. I'm a couple days late on this video. I apologize, but sometimes life gets in the way. And I also wanted to go back and watch some of the Cowboy games from like 2011, 2012, when Jason Garrett was reportedly calling the plays. So I wanted to get some of his play styles and stuff like that to go over some of his play calls. If you want that, that'll be towards the end of the video, so just skip me talking if you want. Anyway, so yeah, it happened a couple days ago. I don't have too much of a reaction to it. I mean, some people hate it, some people love it. I'm kind of neutral about it. I'm going to let it play out. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Guy was a former Giants quarterback, a backup quarterback, so he definitely has familiarity here. I think he's a good guy to kind of help Daniel Jones get to that next level. Definitely help Dak Prescott, and while I don't think Dak Prescott's elite by any means, he's still a pretty good quarterback. I think he was up there in passing yards, probably had a lot of touchdowns as well. And, passing yards is not a good, it's not a good way to measure if a quarterback's good or not, but Dak Prescott was a pretty good quarterback this year for the most part. So we'll get into some Joe Judge quotes about him. We'll get into some Cowboys article about Jason Garrett. There's a few things I want to go over in this video, and of course his play calling towards the end of this video, so I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. So here's an SB Nation article from literally like a year ago, January 21st, 2019. I still think it's 2019, so I thought this was like current, but yeah, it was a year ago, and basically it was saying why Jason Garrett calling plays again would be a good idea, and this article really hyped him up. I mean, you would think that a Cowboys fan or writer would write this, so I don't think this is nonsense, and let's read it real quick. So, the 2010 season was obviously a terrible one, as Phillips was fired during the year after a 1-7 start, but the offense's high level of production, even without Tony Romo, speaks to the quality of Garrett as a play caller. The offense ranked 7th in the NFL in total yards and scoring offense, and despite only having Tony Romo for 5.5 games, the Cowboys had the 6th best passing offense that year. By the way, the quarterback that took over after Romo went down, new quarterbacks coach Jon Kitna. Once Garrett was given a full-time head coaching job, the entire team began a rebuilding phase that most notably started with the offensive line. Still, the Cowboys ranked 11th in yards and 15th in scoring. In 2011 and 2012, they had the 6th-ranked offense and the 15th scoring offense, while boasting the 3rd best passing attack. So, that definitely hypes up Jason Garrett a lot, and you love reading that. I said in my other Jason Garrett video, they had a lot of talent on this offense. I talked about the older guys like, Miles Austin and Felix Jones. Of course, Tony Romo, who I believe is still very underrated as a quarterback. But still, even without Tony Romo, he was still putting up numbers with Jon Kitna as quarterback. I think the Giants faced Kitna at one point, and he wasn't really that bad. So, I mean, if he can put up numbers with those guys and even Jon Kitna, I'm excited to see what he can do with Daniel Jones and some of the weapons he has here. I mean, of course, we have Saquon, and you have Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, hopefully a healthy Evan Engram. So, Darius Slayton, of course, Caden Smith. So there's a lot of guys on this offense that he can work with, and it leaves you very optimistic for next year and what Jason Garrett can do with these weapons. So now some Joe Judge quotes about Jason Garrett. So this is from an ESPN article. Judge called his talks with Garrett quote-unquote great. It was a great opportunity to sit down there and talk ball and share philosophies and views on the game. Judge said, it's a great system he brings with great teaching that will allow our players to go out there and play aggressively. So Joe Judge is definitely on board with this. I mean, this might have been one of his higher ranked guys. I mean, there was a report that came out the day that Joe Judge was hired about Jason Garrett getting an interview with the Giants. We thought it was about a head coaching job at the time, but I think it ended up being an offensive coordinator role, so I'm not sure exactly how that worked out, but this might have been a guy that was high on his list. So, of course, it's weird having the Cowboys coach from like 2010 be the Giants offensive coordinator, but at the same time, Joe Judge feels he'll be a great guy for this job, and right now, based off the way Joe Judge impressed us at his press conference, I stand behind him in every move he's making so far, so hopefully this works out, and the coaching staff is pretty much complete at this point. There might be like a couple spots open. I don't think offensive line coach has been solidified yet, but for the most part, they have their whole staff put together, and so far, it's looking pretty impressive, so I'm excited about it. So here's some notes or takeaways you can say after watching Jason Garrett, a couple games of him from 2012 and his play calling when I watched. He uses a lot of 12 personnel, which is the 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers and 1 running back at the same time on the field. He likes to have 2 safety valves on passing plays. I don't know if that's designed or if that's just the way it is. I mean, a lot of times it was Jason Witten on short passes, then he'd have his running back leak out for, just a safety blanket basically. So I like that. If a quarterback gets in a bad situation, you don't want to have type of guy, like a Freddie Kitchens type of coach who only would run like very deep routes on like a 3rd and 2. Like that is just idiotic. So I like the fact that he has that. He definitely attempts to establish the run. So even in games where there was a game with the Giants I watched where they were down 23-0, and you would think in that situation you're going to pass the ball to try to get back in the game, which does make the most sense. But it was early in the game, I think it was the second quarter, and Jason Garrett basically just ran 2 running plays on that possession down 23-0. I don't think it worked too well, but still, he did it anyway, so he tries to establish a run and sticks with it. He utilizes the 5-step drop for his quarterbacks, so a lot of times in the Pat Shurmur offense, it was basically a lot of shotgun. We didn't see too many times where it was like a 5-step drop where the quarterback's under center, so we didn't see too much under center stuff from Daniel Jones last year for the most part. But if Jason Garrett and his play calling holds true from 2012, I'm sure he'll make some changes, but if most of it holds true, there will be a lot of 5-step drops for Daniel Jones and stuff like that. I just mentioned QB under center more, especially as compared to Pat Shurmur. They like to take deep shots at the right time, so some offenses aren't designed to take too many deep shots, but I've noticed from this offense that they would take them at the right time. Of course, they had receivers like Dez Bryant and Miles Austin at the time, so of course that makes it easier, but the fact that he has deep play calls and stuff like that is encouraging as well. It's more old-fashioned, or quote-unquote old-fashioned, as compared to Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur's offense. So those guys run like the West Coast type offense, where it's just a lot of shotgun and a lot of like spread offense and stuff like that. But when you have a guy like Jason Garrett, it's a lot of like bunch stuff, and you have like extra offensive linemen or extra tight ends, as I said before. You might have one wide receiver in at the time. So, I mean, it's a different offense as compared to what McAdoo was running. I mean, McAdoo had every play, I think, was, I don't know if it's 11 personnel where you have like 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. He ran that like 90-something% of the time, so it was kind of crazy. Pat Shurmur changed it up a little bit more, but for the most part, I think it was 3 wide receivers playing for the Giants at the same time. So he should bring a different look for this team. I think he uses every look. Of course, he uses 3 wide receivers as well. I saw that. They had that, what the hell's that guy's name? Like Kevin Ogletree, that guy who had like 3 touchdowns against us in that week 1 game. He was playing wide receiver 3 at some points. So if you guys, go back to like 2012 as a Giants fan, you know what I'm talking about. So they had that guy in 3 wide receiver sets. So he brings a lot of different stuff, and it's pretty fun to watch. So now we'll go over some play calls I watched from the 2012 games. There was one against the Giants and one against the Falcons. So let's get into those. So here we go, all the way back to 2012. This was a 3rd and 10 against the Giants here. The Giants are a man defense here. And you could see they have the 2 outside wide receivers are going to run corner routes. They're going to go like this and then run towards the corner. And the slot receiver here basically has the whole inside of the field to himself. So I like the whole play design here. Clear out space. You have the two safeties back. They go with the outside receivers. And then right here, this entire area is open. Tony Romo sees it. He's let go of the ball at this point. Whoever this was, I think this was J-Ron Hosley. This was a guy I could not stand another slot corner for the Giants that did not work out. And right here, this receiver is wide open. I don't know who it is, honestly, but makes a catch. They gain like 20 yards off that 3rd and 10 play, but looks like Miles Austin. I think that's 19. But this is a smart play because, honestly, as long as your offensive line gives you enough time here, as I said before, you have the safety valve right here. So you have this receiver who looks like a running back, I guess. Then you have the receivers on top of the screen right here going to the corner. Bottom receiver going to the corner. But they're going to occupy the cornerback and the safety. So both safeties go with these outside receivers, but the entire middle of the field is open up. And, of course, that depends on the defense. If the Giants were in a zone defense and they were like, if this was like a Tampa 2, for instance, this play probably does not work, but against man coverage, this is going to work most times, especially against a slot corner that's not so good. So it was a good play design right there by Jason Garrett. So this is a 3rd and 7, and the play was not converted, but I want to pay attention to the route concepts because that's what we're here for, honestly, to see what Jason Garrett likes to call. And this slot receiver right here runs a wheel route, basically goes up this way. There's like a rub route happening right here. You have a slant down here, and you have a wheel route going up here. So, of course, these corners are going to intersect, and possibly there could be a rub route there. And, of course, right here you have, I guess this is Jason Witten maybe. He's going to run out here and just break outside. That could have been converted if he had enough time. The Giants ended up blitzing on this play. I think like 6 guys were blitzing on this play, so it was tough for Tony Romo to buy himself some time. And looks like Dez Bryant on the bottom of the screen right here just runs a corner route out to like the 35 or 40. So we'll see how it goes here. I think J-Ron Hosley actually makes a good play here, so that was a guy I was just speaking poorly about, but ends up making a good play here. and it does fall incomplete. But we've seen Daniel Jones make those throws before. I think back to that one in the preseason with Golden Tate and against the Patriots. I think he made it a similar throw to this, and Golden Tate came down with it. It was a great play. So something like that. That's a throw Daniel Jones can make. But we've seen it before. I mean, rub routes work all the time in the NFL. Sometimes they're called as penalties. But if this worked right here, this could have been a wide open slant pass that could have went for like 20 yards if it worked correctly. Even the wheel route was very close to being converted, so I like the route concepts here. Even the tight end breaking out here. There's only one deep safety, probably Stevie Brown, way back there. So this tight end route could have been completed if he had enough time to throw. He probably did not have enough time to throw. Then you have one-on-one on the bottom of the screen here. So there were, four good options you could have went with here, but we'll see from the other angle. I don't know what happened on this play exactly. We'll see if Hosey makes a good play here. I mean, maybe knocks the ball away. I don't even care, but that could have been converted. Obviously, I think Romo put it in a pretty good spot, but unfortunately did not work. But still, I thought the route concepts on that play were pretty good, and another great play right there, a play call by Jason Garrett on a 3rd down and long situation. So I mentioned before about the 5-step drop. So we're in the I formation here. We're just gonna drop back and pass, and it's quick and simple. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, set your feet, throw. Jason Witten picks up probably like 7-8 yards on that play. My man Antrell Roll, one of my favorite Giants, making the tackle right there. But it's just simple stuff. This is stuff Daniel Jones is very capable of, because Daniel Jones, I mean, he's a really good intermediate route type thrower, and this is considered intermediate routes. So, I mean, if he can do this with Evan Engram, even Jason Witten, who's rumored to go to the Giants next year. I'm not sure if it's as a tight ends coach or if as a player, but still, I mean, I'm just joking around there. But even Caden Smith, Evan Engram, this would work. So, I mean, I like that there. Of course, you have to have good footwork for it, but I think Daniel Jones' footwork is actually really good, so he should have no problems with this stuff. But we don't see it too much in the NFL nowadays, like the I formation, you have a 5-step drop and stuff like that. So I know this is 2012, it's 8 years ago, but we'll see if Jason Garrett once again implements this in his offense, even in 2020. So honestly, I forget what happens with this play, but the thing that opened my eyes about it was the spacing. Watch the spacing here. So the Giants are in a zone defense here, and of course it's harder to pass against zone most times, but the spacing here is just terrific in my opinion. So watch right about here. So you're going to have one receiver here, one here. You see, like, no one's really intersecting each other on routes and stuff like that. It's not bunched up. It's not crowded. You even have a dump off right here to a running back that would maybe turn into some positive yards. I don't know what down it was on this play, unfortunately, but right here, I mean, this could have been an easily completed pass. He probably goes here, honestly. Let's let the play go. Yeah, this is Jason Witten. I think this might have been the game where Witten had like 17 catches against us or something more than that. It was pretty crazy. But watch from this angle. Everybody else goes out for a pass. You have the 5 offensive linemen. Witten's wide open. So the zone defense for the Giants did not work there, obviously. And I don't know what went wrong for them, but basically, I love the spacing, as I was saying before. So you have these 2 receivers going deep on the top and bottom right here. They're going deep. You have the tight ends. I think they're both tight ends. Let me reverse this real quick. Is that a tight end? This angle would tell us. No, maybe not. Looks like an 88, 89, maybe 89. Maybe that is a tight end. So it looks like you have 2 tight ends here, and they're just going to run out routes, 10 yards, right near the marker of the first down. So that's a pretty good design right there. And then, of course, you have this option, dump off as well. So, look, I like the play calling here. Maybe this corner, I think Prince Amukamara might have went too deep here and allowed Jason Witten to make this catch. But at the same time, it's a good route concept once again. The spacing is really good, and the Cowboys, convert on the first down there. So this is interesting. This is basically the same exact play call, except the running back, I think, stays in the block. Just watch the running back one more time. So he stays in the block and help, but everybody else runs the same route. So you're going to have the bottom and top wide receivers on the outside both go deep once again. You're going to have both tight ends, or no, this time it's a slot receiver. Slot receiver is going to run an out route around like the 45-50, and then you're going to have the tight end who is right over here running an out route as well. So this time they go deep. There's a single high safety, and based on the defense, you just have to, trust your quarterback to make the right reads and make the right judgment calls here. And if you're Tony Romo, you see there's one high safety. You're going to have an opportunity to go on the bottom of the screen or top of the screen. The safety doesn't cheat to either side, so it leaves, his cornerback one-on-one. They go to Des Bryant. Of course, having an alpha wide receiver definitely helps, and I don't think we have that right now. Maybe Darius Slayton can turn into that. But, Tony Romo's going to take this shot every time, and, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But Daniel Jones can make this throw as well, so it's definitely very encouraging. If the deep routes, if this safety, let's say there were 2 safeties deep on this play, then you go to the underneath route or something like that. So there's definitely options for, the quarterback regardless, whether it's Daniel Jones or anybody. So in this particular situation, you have the safety on the right hash marks here, cheating towards the right side of the field. So why not take a shot to Des Bryant in one-on-one coverage? Most of the time that'll work, and in this case, it works right there. So a lot of times it's very tough to score on the goal line. The field's a lot shorter. There's not a lot of places to go with the ball. So why not be a little creative here? So watch on this play. I'm not going to tell you what happens. Try and decipher for yourself what's happening on this play. I won't say anything. So some of you might have thought the running back had the ball there. He decides to have Tony Romo keep the ball. And of course, a lot of it depends on if the quarterback sells it. Right there, if you're telling right before it actually. Right there, Romo's looking at his running back still like he has the ball, which is kind of a really nice, fake by him. But eventually he just rolls out and makes the play. Jason Pierre-Paul was kind of fooled on that play. Beats Blackburn to the corner. Touchdown Cowboys. So this is a nice play once again. I think this was a 4th and 1. Or a 4th and goal, technically, you can call it. But, sometimes when you're, I think the Giants stuffed them on 3 straight plays, and sometimes you got to just dig into the bag of tricks and call something like this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The Cowboys, it worked for them, and I do believe, as I wrote on top here, Daniel Jones can definitely pull this off. As I mentioned before, a lot of 12 personnel, so we have the 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. And once again, just a quick hitter right here. I think this is stuff that Daniel Jones would honestly really excel with. Daniel Jones, I think he's capable of being a good deep passer, but that's not his strength. He's definitely a lot better with the medium passes or short passes like this as well. So if Jason Garrett's calling out plays for him that are like this, where he can use his footwork to his advantage, I think this is going to work very well. So I think this is a match made in heaven potentially for the Giants, and I love hearing that. So as Joe Judge said in his press conference, they want to use their players' strengths. They don't want to, focus on their weaknesses. They want to use their players' strengths. You look at Daniel Jones, the strength is footwork, the strength is ball placement, and, making good intermediate throws. So you bring in an offensive coordinator like Jason Garrett who can put you under center, utilize his footwork, throw off the defense, and make short, accurate throws like this. And move the chains time after time. Hopefully the Giants can be one of the teams up in the top towards the league in time of possession. So if he can do this and make accurate throws and they can run the ball well, hopefully with a better offensive line, then the Giants can be a very efficient offense and definitely hold on to the ball a lot this season. So I'm very excited for that. So if you're a defense and you see this formation right here, you have how many offensive linemen are here and tight ends? We have 7 offensive linemen basically. You only have 1 wide receiver out here. There's only 1 cornerback. You're probably thinking this is a run play. 90% of the defense is probably thinking this is a run play. But Jason Garrett, pretty slick move here. So it's just quick Tony Romo, swing it out to the wide receiver. Tiny bit of a play action right there. It only goes for 4 yards. The blocks weren't there in time. But I like this. This is a type of play that can throw a defense off. You're going to run the play action right here. Right? So you get some of the guys going in. There's still one-on-one on the outside. You hope that your right tackle and the right guard, or maybe even tight end and right tackle, get out there and make their blocks. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So right here, if he was able to get out here and block him, this might have been a walk-in touchdown. But unfortunately, the offensive lineman was not quick enough to get out there. But this is still a pretty creative play design, so I like that from Jason Garrett. It's the type of thing that'll throw off a defense, as I said, because if you see this formation with all the tight ends and offensive linemen, even a fullback in here, you're probably thinking this is a running play, but just a quick swing out right here. As I said, if the block was made on this defender, number 25 right here, that's probably a nice completion, maybe even a touchdown. Unfortunately, it did not work right there, but maybe in the future it could work for Jason Garrett's offense. So we haven't covered any run plays yet, but here's one. And you guys know, if you watch my videos, I love when an offensive coordinator or play caller sends their wide receiver in motion into the backfield just to distract the defense. I know he's not doing anything here, and I think that's Dwayne Harris actually. And DeMarco Murray makes a big play out of it. Even Harris gets involved as a blocker later in the play, which is pretty funny. But I love this because, if you send this wide receiver in motion, it's bound to throw off somebody. Maybe this guy right here on the edge was thrown off a bit. I don't know. But, it's bound to throw somebody off. And then you have we'll watch from back here. So he has the tight end, of course, the 5 offensive linemen, even the fullbacks in here right in front of the camera, or behind the camera, I should say. You send the wide receiver in motion. So everyone's hitting their blocks right here. You have the fullback basically taking care of 2 guys. You have this offensive lineman taking care of the linebacker. For DeMarco Murray, it's very simple. You just turn up field right here, cut to the left. It's one-on-one with this safety right here. All you have to do is make one guy miss, which he does. Then you cut outside one more time. And I'm telling you, I mean, I know I'm very optimistic about Daniel Jones and what he can do in Jason Garrett's offense, but Jason Garrett's the type of guy, I don't know if it's because this is 2012, but he definitely likes to use the fullback and have two tight ends in at the same time. I mean, Saquon Barkley, if he's getting the run blocking he needs, he can have a phenomenal year. Of course, he has to stay healthy, but still, if he has the blocking like this, it can be a very dangerous year for Saquon Barkley. So DeMarco Murray is a very talented running back in his own right, but he's not Saquon Barkley, so we've seen Saquon do stuff like this before, so I'm very excited about what he can do in this offense as well. So I think this is it. I think this is the last clip I have, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe I missed some things about Jason Garrett, but for the most part, I think we covered a lot here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you're excited about Jason Garrett as the OC. I kind of am right now. I'm definitely hyping myself up for this, but it could be a disappointment. But I think Jason Garrett, especially if he uses a lot of this older stuff from 2012, he has a lot of the right personnel to thrive in his offense. So that's definitely exciting. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you next time.